7 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Toll.
Here, but I was first last time, just so you know.
You will be for the whole month of December.
Hold on, I thought it was like every week.
No. So you're first tonight,
This is your
too.
second term, too.
Councilmember Smith.
Act like you've been here before. Here.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Here.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Present.
Councilmember Graves.
Present.
Councilmember Saper.
Here.
All right, we made it through roll call. Thank you. Next up, Pledge of Allegiance this evening will be led by Councilmember Toll.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving right along there. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Councilmember
Second.
Graves.
I just want to pull one item just to have a conversation. Number 11, please.
All right,
from the
number 11,
consent.
we'll pull number 11 and 12 since they go together.
Okay.
Okay, 11 and 12 pulled. All right, is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item, comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening? I didn't mean to gavel you down there. Good evening.
Good evening again. I'm Liz Ryan, 2417 Erie. And I was here for the work session. I appreciate what you've done and the donations you have. And unless you've worked, I've worked with Hillcrest Ministries and the food pantry, 31st and Spruce. You just don't realize how much this means. And it means to me, because I love to see what we do and how we help. And that zip code, 64116, is very misleading to where it goes. But thank you for everything, and I appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Have a good Christmas.
Thank you, Liz, for the work you're doing, too.
All right. Whoa. Where are we going here? Okay. Back to the order here. Further comments from the public? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 6. She never knows when I'm going to read it.
Appointment of Katie Stokes to the North Kansas City City Council as Ward 4 council member.
All right. Katie Stokes served on the Parks Board for, I don't have the resume up, so I'm just going to wing this here. Served on the Parks Board for the last several months. I've heard nothing but rave reviews from everyone that has served on the Parks Board with her so far, and now I'm interested in appointing her to the Ward 4 vacancy. There you go. We'll make it short. Questions? Councilmember Graves.
You mentioned the Parks Board. Is she stepping down from the Parks Board
I believe
since
by
she's on the
default, she
council?
would no longer be able to be on the Parks Board. Is that right?
that true?
Mr. Legal Counsel.
Yes.
He kind of head nodded at me. I'll take that as a yes.
And then could you just briefly just kind of go over the process that you went through? Because I get asked this. We went through the same thing with Fitzgerald, and I get
Yeah,
asked by people. I think 4 people in Ward 4 ask me kind of, how are you picking someone? How is this done? How does the process work? So can you briefly explain, please?
Yeah, it wasn't an overly complex process here. We opened up an online application form, which I've sent you guys all the questions and answers from that. Beyond that, I worked with Councilmember Clark to kind of look over those, and I don't know, from there, it was a pretty simple process. I called Katie, had spoken with her, and I know Amy had as well, and felt as though she was qualified to serve in the role. Other than that, yeah, that's because.
And I don't know if it's public, so I'll just say it. I think there were 4 applicants, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And then
All qualified, I'll say. Everyone on the list was very qualified people.
Yeah.
Good candidates who've served the city in various ways, and I've appreciated everything they've done.
Agreed.
There's a lot of good people. It's tough.
Yep. So thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there publicly because people keep asking me. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, further council member comments? Seeing none, is there a motion on the appointment of Katie Stokes to the North Kansas City City Council's Ward 4?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Now we have a swearing-in ceremony. Congratulations. There we go. We should start with it. There we go. And now you got to move your jacket. Or is that hers? Okay. And do not take that form with you or Crystal will chase you down. You must sign that form and return it to her. I've done that. There we go. We'll put you right to work here, too. It's a quick transition here. Welcome to council. All right. So with that, we are through number 7, correct? And we are on to the consent agenda. Right? You did a little hand thing. Am I good? Am I good?
Yeah, you're on the consent
Okay.
agenda.
I wasn't sure what that was. Okay.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Amended consent agenda.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Amended consent agenda. We
Yes.
removed number
Second.
11
Yep.
and 12.
You second.
I heard a
Second.
first and a second. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries. Item number 11, memorandum of understanding with Northland Assistance Center for Emergency Cold Weather Overnight Sheltering, Resolution 22096. Councilmember Graves.
So I'm 1,000% in support of this agreement and budget amendment for the NAC regarding emergency cold weather sheltering. This was on the consent agenda, and I think it's something important for us to talk about. Is there a bomb about to go off or something? What is happening?
That's his timer going off.
Oh, Anthony. Hey, you're going to have to explain that during staff comments.
Liz, you're done talking now.
Liz is totally confused.
All right, okay.
I
Sorry,
feel-
please continue.
We're safe. We got the chief sitting over here. But we got the sheet. We talked about this last year. People in the public, you might not be aware, there are warming shelters around the Kansas City metro area. We don't really have a warming shelter in North Kansas City, but we do keep kind of our library open during normal hours, city hall, things like that. Obviously, we have extreme cold temperatures coming this Thursday, and it's concerning to me because tomorrow, the first official day of winter is tomorrow, and we're already out of funds for this NAC emergency warming, where we can find, if people are out in the street in the cold and dangerous, there's dangerous temperatures that can actually be life-threatening, then we can put them in shelter on an emergency basis. So I just kind of wanted to get an update from whoever can speak to this, maybe Chief Hargis, maybe Rita Pierce, who's in attendance, as far as like the warming shelters. I was reading today online, there's some in the Northland, but not many. And most of them, it looks like, are way up north, like we're talking Berry Road, 152. There's some libraries, community centers, things like that. Are there room in those to where we can transport people there, or are they full to where we're just sticking people in hotels at this point?
The warming shelters can accept people, most of them. Our YMCA is also listed as a warming shelter in Clay County, but those are only during the business hours of those places. So it's really not necessary to transport somebody there, because then what are you going to do when that facility closes at night?
Yeah.
So, and to correct, Rita's not completely out of funds for this year,
Yeah.
but she's going through them with the weather, the temperatures we've had faster than normal. That's why that's on there tonight. The regional look at the cold weather sheltering has changed a little bit. Kansas City transitioned that from their emergency management team handling that to one of the outreach groups has taken that over, and the city's funding that through an outreach group. They're not doing the dashboard this year. If you'll notice on that street sheet, last year those came out every week. This year they're quarterly. So I think they found out that a lot of those resources don't change. We've put that out. Our dispatch center has that to help try to put people in the proper place if they come in seeking assistance during the cold weather. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Does that mean that if someone was in need, you turn to these shelters first prior to turning to?
Correct. We try to, but typically when the weather gets like it is now, those shelters are full. And that's what the main issue is, as Councilman Graves alluded to. There are very few warming centers in the Northland. There's even less shelters. There's really no place in the Northland for those people to go.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes, I fully support these both, the 11 and 12. And I think we need to be prepared to increase the amount in the future, because winter is just starting. And I suspect that we're going to have to, this come back to us in the future, and we should be prepared to increase the amount that we're spending. And maybe this is a time to look at where we do our spending. This is the kind of thing that,
You just rotate that around.
this
There
is
we
the
go.
kind of thing, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is the kind of thing that impacts individuals and people, and it's not flashy and developmental as we normally think of things in city development, community development, but it impacts lives. And so I think we need to be prepared that we will be increasing this amount in the future, probably very soon.
And I agree, and I think we usually are. It's something we watch and we work closely with Rita on as well, and she will definitely inform us if we get to a point where we need to reconsider again. Yeah, please, come on up. Good evening.
I appreciate you guys bringing this onto the agenda again, but I also want to tell you that not only do we house people at the American Inn, we provide food for them. They have microwaves and they have refrigerators there, and our pantry provides that of our own expense. We provide laundry detergent. I personally have brought up money so that people who are housed there can have the dignity of washing their clothes and whatnot. Anybody who wants to donate quarters, I'm just saying, you know where I'm at. So it's a bigger, broader picture than just putting people in. At least our agency has taken it on as a bigger, broader picture because we appreciate the fact that you're funding this. We kind of keep it on the down low because we don't want everyone to know, but last year was extremely successful, and this year is extremely successful. I have no control over the weather, unfortunately. If I did, I'd not like us to have $10,000 again. But we're down to about $1,500 as of today. And that is very unusual to start housing people in October and so many in November and now December. I have no idea what the weather is going to be, but I will say that I'm really proud to work with our city and with those of you who continue to approve these things, because it does give me a great deal of pride to be in North Kansas City and run an organization down here that has taken such a strong stand on this. And we've housed about 18 people off and on. Well, not 18 groups of people, and about 7 of them have been women, which is unusual, and a couple of families. So it's not just people. I think this council recognizes it's not just people who are living under bridges, although we did have someone referred from Harrah's, because I work with their security people, who has been living under a bridge, and the security officer got concerned about him because of the weather and sent him to me, and he's in a hotel now. So my hope for the future is to work with Chief Hargis, with North Kansas City Hospital, with Harrah's security people, and also find additional funding. Anthony, I love the fact that you're willing to even think about that. But I do think there's an opportunity in our community to have funding from North Kansas City Hospital, who are very grateful that we can put people in. We have two people and a family, one person and a family in there that were released, and they would have been sent to a bus if we had not had this funding. I think we can work to have them also provide funding. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but it's something I want to work on this next year. So it's a joint effort, which I always think is a good idea, between all of the emergency responders and people who that come into them in need like this. So I thank you, and I hope that you do approve this.
Thank you. And I'd say I believe that $10,000 is a number we talked about early on, and kind of always both with the understanding that she knows how to get a hold of all of us up here. So as tonight, when we run low, we're able to bring that back on. Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Roberts.
So we're here approaching the first day of winter, as Councilmember Graves pointed out, and we're already through the first 10K. If we put in 10,000 now, and we're looking at -8 tomorrow, I believe it is, how quickly are we going to run through it? And then at what point does it come back to council? If it's 2 weeks, is it 2 weeks before the next?
We might as well just
council,
have
or
you hang on
3?
up here in the mic for a minute here.
So what I'm wondering is 10,000 enough right now to get us through the next couple weeks, as bad as it's going to be immediately, and then through the rest of the winter, it doesn't even seem like it's going to get us close. Like, we'll be back here, and we're not. I mean, I can't speak for, we're not going to not fund it. This is a big pressing issue, and we don't have an alternative. So do we need to just make a bigger number now so that we can get through what's going to be a rough week or two and not have to address it immediately or get caught in the
I
interim?
feel like we initially had a conversation about not ever having too much, but I thought some of that was at your request, maybe.
May I-
I could be wrong.
Councilmember Smith, there's like two questions there.
Sure,
First, this includes this cold weather period. I think I've explained to council before that it's cheaper to put people into a hotel for a week at $325 than at $70 a night during the week and $90 a night. So I'm counting the people we put in today. And I think that we've done a really good job getting most of those people in. It would be very unusual because they already know about us. We can still do that. Now, if I came across one or two more people, we have about $1,500 in there, we could do 3 with the funding right now to get us through this cold period. So that's the answer to this cold period. We have funding right now, barely, to get through this cold period. The next cold period, we would not have funding for at this time. And as I said, I can't really predict the weather. I'd rather give you money back than have to not have enough to fund people through the winter. Because the memorandum of understanding clearly states any monies that are not spent by April, can't remember the date, it may be the end of April, will be refunded to the city. And I don't think that's going to happen. But if it did, I'd prefer to do that than not be able to house people.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting to is if we do 10 and we run out of money because the demand is so strong, and it's in that interim, that soft period between meetings, like I don't know what happens. That seems like a pretty desperate situation. So like I would be in favor of going a little higher than 10, maybe 15 or 20 to get us through the next bit and see where that lands us.
Councilmember, I'm sorry, I already said Councilmember Roberts and then Councilmember.
I was going to pretty much say the same thing. I was going to say, let's just go to 20. There's already an understanding that if you don't use it, it'll come back to us. So let's stop the redundancy. Let's just make it 20.
I'm in favor of that, by the way. Just go to 20, and because otherwise you're going to be at the next meeting. We'll just be re-upping it again, which
Happy
is fine.
to come anytime.
Yeah. But the other question, do we know I don't know. Does anyone know off the top of their head how much this was last year total? How much we went through?
I know it began at 10, and I'm sorry I don't have the answer to that question. And I actually just looked at it not too long ago because I'm working on end of the year.
I won't hold you to it. Like I can't remember myself either.
Yeah,
Can't remember.
I know it was over 10. We came back a second time. And the fire department also helped. I think it might have been, I know what it was exactly. It was $20,250 because they were not including in the 5% that goes to administration fees. And then we went through that, and then I went to the fire department, and they helped fund the last week or so. So actually, I do actually remember exactly what we spent.
So let's go ahead and just up it to 20 as, I would motion what Council Smith is proposing to up it to 20 and see how far that gets us.
Yeah, so we need I know we kind of don't follow, it's like a modified Robert's Rules of Orders, but I will take a motion to pass the resolution with the amendment, taking the city's commitment from 10,000 to 20,000.
Is that something that we can do?
Right?
We have to amend their agreement.
Yeah, no, because, it's Section D, subsection 2, or 1. The city commits providing $10,000 in funding to provide emergency cold weather temporary housing. I won't read the rest. We want to change that where it says 10 to 20. I'm sorry. I got it in order. Was that the motion?
It
Okay,
essentially
there we go.
doubles it because there's also an admin piece, right? There's like the 9,500 of the 10,000, so it would make it 19,000 of 20.
Right.
With 1,000 going to admin.
There we go. Councilmember Toll. Okay, there was a motion. Is there a second to that one?
Second.
Kind of,
Second.
are we good on the motion in the second here?
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Toll.
While we have you here, I just wanted to ask you a question that came up when we first proposed this. It sounds by the numbers of the groups that you are housing that we've stayed pretty consistent. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
We have new people this year. We never have the same people.
But
We have
we're
a number of new
consistently
people.
about the same number of people.
Correct.
Okay.
I think it's going to increase so because the hospital is well aware of us now, and Harris North Kansas City is aware of us. And apparently, people have been sleeping under the bridge near there, the railroad bridge that I was unaware of. And the security officer there, or security people became concerned and at least sent one person. So it's difficult to say, but it's been consistent. This year, there's been more.
I think your work that you have planned this year to get additional funding from other sources would be really well-served to be able
Yes.
to meet the needs that we have in the community. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
All right, 22996. Okay, further comments? There's a motion, there's a second, well, one at a time. Here, we got to pass this resolution first. Resolution, right? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. The motion carries. All right. I'll let you read the next item.
Number 12, budget amendment for emergency cold weather overnight sheltering services, resolution number 22-097.
All right, we would need this one passed as amended as well to change all references to $10,000 to $20,000. Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
Yes, I move to pass a amended budget amendment to 20,000.
Second.
This is probably all kinds of Robert Rules of Order breaking, but we'll go with it. I think we got the intent. We got a first, second, further council member comments. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. The motion carries. Thank you. Now we're back on track here. Back to number 15, National Steamboat Museum presentation, which we will start with Mike. You going to introduce the topic or introduce our?
Yes, we have a speaker here, Mr. David Hawley. I'll let David give his background because he can do it a lot better than me, but he's with the Steamboat Arabia and.
I think
Perfect.
just fine.
The floor is yours. Good evening.
Good evening. Did you get the little video that I'd sent over?
Yes.
And it works okay?
When you're ready for it to start.
Very good. Well, Mayor and Council, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and present briefly. What seems like at this point, 2 lifetimes ago, maybe more, my dad and I and my brother said, let's go dig up a steamboat. There's one not far from here. It'll be great fun. And we did. Buried 45 feet under a farm field, Kansas City, Kansas, was a steamboat called the Arabia that sank in 1856. It was carrying over 200 tons of freight to the frontier. It hit a tree, it sank. All passengers survived, the freight did not. It went down into the mud, and there it lay for 132 years. And over that time, the river changed its course, and it moved a half a mile, leaving the boat buried 45 feet under farm ground. We found it, we dug it, never with the intention of doing a museum. We thought we'd dig it, we'd clean it, we'd sell it, and we'd go back to work. But the collection itself was so remarkable that we chose not to sell it, instead to do a museum. We've been in a museum in the city market for the past 30-some years. And over that time, we've continued to clean. And we still are not finished cleaning all the things that came off that boat. It's an enormous collection. We're told it's the largest, in fact, the largest collection of wet organic material that's been found in the world from one dig site. 4,000 shoes, clothes, and tools, and all these wonderful things, remarkably well preserved. Buried in the mud without oxygen, they survived. We have visitors from around the world that come to see us. At this point, a couple things have occurred. Number one, we've outgrown our space. Secondly, if you've ever tried to park your car in the city market in Kansas City on a Saturday, it's almost impossible. There is no parking. If you have any kind of a vehicle of any size, a motor home or a coach or whatever, pulling a trailer, there's just no way you're going to get in there. Our leases will expire in the building in about 4 years. In addition to that, we found another boat. It's one called the Malta. It's east of us about 80 miles. It sank earlier than the Arabia. It sank in 1841. It's 15 years older. The Arabia collection was mostly settler supplies on its way to the frontier. The Malta, instead, was carrying Indian trade goods, coming from St. Louis, owned by the Choteau family out of St. Louis, who owned the American Fur Company. Its collection was to the fur trade. Okay. Completely different collection, a different time period. And we would like to combine that with the Arabia at a new location somewhere else. We're looking around, and we were invited to come and present to you guys. At this point, I've got a short movie that'll kind of describe a little bit more about the Arabia and the Malta and kind of what we'd like to do in the future. So with that, Mike, or whoever's in charge of the button.
Everybody loves a good story about buried treasure. A story about something that's been lost. A tale about people who came before and the riches they left behind. A history nearly forgotten and then finally brought back to the light.
Right now in mid-Missouri, there is a hunt underway for a buried treasure of sorts, and if found, it could benefit the Metro for generations.
When most people think about shipwrecks, they're thinking about boats that are lost in the ocean. What they don't realize is there are all of these steamboats that have sunk on rivers like the Missouri.
The Missouri River was the artery of the creation of the West.
There were no stores here. The steamboats were the traveling stores, and it was really big business.
1988, my dad and I and brother Greg and a couple friends dug a steamboat called the Arabia, filled with over 200 tons of priceless treasures. We found so much, we had to build a building, a museum, to put it all into. It is the largest of its kind in the world.
There are things in this collection that you can't find anywhere else.
I've been an archaeologist for 23 years, been all over the world, and I've never seen anything like this.
The Arabia is a great story, but there's other stories to be told.
Steamboat Malta sank in September 1841, heading north with Indian trade goods. And I think I found it.
The Malta is connected to so many important people in frontier history. Excavating it is like touching their lives.
Well, finding treasure is one thing. The question, what do you do with it?
I could see this becoming a center for Western history. If we had a museum of the steamboat and we had 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 ships, all of a sudden the complete picture of the history of the West is visually correct, finally.
That would be a phenomenal resource for history professors, lovers of history. This would just bring it home.
You could spend a day or several days looking through the history of America through the lens of these steamships.
The things that were so incredibly rare, they've evaporated into time, they're all dust, they're here.
What they've done has changed the way that we imagine this period in American history.
It's exciting to imagine what's possible for the museum and for the community around it.
It's a great period of our American history.
Every historian who's worth their salt needs to get here to see this.
It's going to be the adventure of a lifetime.
See the treasure. Live the adventure. Join us in establishing a national learning center with a collection second to none, infused with dynamic, interactive technology that entertains the entire family and serves as a powerful magnet for tourism. Imagine the National Steamboat Museum.
One of the fellows on the show is a fellow named Tim Gordon, who's one of the Antique Roadshow appraisers. He's working with us now to help establish the value of what the collection is. And he's been around the world and has looked at all of the big collections. You know, he evaluated Princess Diana's wardrobe in Kensington Palace and lots of other things. And he's never seen a collection quite as the Arabia is. It's rather large. If you've not been to see the museum, I'd invite you to come and see it. It's worth a couple of hours of your time to take a look. The Malta will be very similar. Older, a little different story than that of the Arabia. The steamboat era lasted for really 6 decades. Started on the Missouri in 1819, so for easy math, say 1820. The locomotives came to Fort Benton, Montana, the head of river navigation, by the 80s. So from the 20s through the 70s was the era of the steamboat. And if one could dig one boat from each decade, okay, the Arabia tells the story of the 50s, the Malta the 40s. We found and we dug the very first boat that sank on the Missouri that was called the Missouri Packet. It sank mid-Missouri near the mouth of the Lamine River. It sank in 1820. It's the very first boat to go down. Wasn't much on it, but we have the machinery, the engines and the boilers, and that is as early as steamboat starts. There is no older engine than that one. So to find a couple more boats and add it to the collection would be remarkable. It would be an exhibit that would be unlike any others or anything that could ever be established in the future. But one of the interesting things about the Steamboat Malta, when we did the test drilling on the boat, it felt like the boat itself was intact. And when the Arabia sank, the river took away the upper structure. The cabins, the pilots, that was all washed away by the force of the river. The lower part buried itself into the mud initially and was saved from the current. The Malta, however, sank on the downriver side of an island that seemed to have sheltered the boat itself from the current. The boat seems to be intact. Not sure for sure, but in the course test drilling, that's what it feels like. And if that be the case, then to recover the boat itself and have that on display as the centerpiece with the other collections around it puts you into something that I would say is world class. There's nothing else in this country that's quite like that. Have you seen a show on the History Channel called The Curse of Oak Island? Some of you have. History Channel is probably their most popular show, I'm told. It's gone for 10 years. And they have yet to find much at all. They look and they look and they look, but they don't find too much. The History Channel called this last year and they say, Dave, have you seen the show? And I said, well, I've seen it, but I don't watch it because they don't really find enough. I'm kind of used to finding a lot of things. They said, I know. But could we send our guys to Kansas City and have you do a show with them? So they came out last summer. They showed some stuff about the Arabia, some things about the Malta. We went out on the river and found another boat called the Radnor that was in the Missouri River. They packaged it together and they showed it and they aired it in January of this last year. You can see it. It's about a 45, 50-minute show. It has been a really popular show, and I can't tell you how many people over the course of this last year who visited the museum from far, far away to see the collection because they saw it on that show. The History Channel's called several times to say, are you going to ready to dig that Malta this year? I said, I can't. I don't have a home for it yet. But when we do, then yeah, if you want to come and show it, you can. They would like to do a series, much like that of the Curse of Oak Island. And when you see a show where they find things, okay, compared to one that they don't, the museum where we're at couldn't hold the people who would come to see it anyway. The parking lot would never hold who we have. So we're casting around. We're looking for a bigger home. We need a place where we can grow. We need a place for the Arabia, for the Malta, and for other boats. You're close. You're just across the river from us. There's nothing else in Kansas City. There's nothing else across the state of Missouri that celebrates the history of steamboats, which is hugely important, quite like this would. So, if there's some consideration that you have that you would like to entertain that possibility, I'd be interested in having that dialogue with you. So, with that, do you have any questions?
Thank you. Maybe some questions on that. I don't know why I'm looking at anybody. Questions? Comments? There we go. Councilmember Saper.
So you would like to stay in the Kansas City?
I would.
Because I know there was talk at one point about Indianapolis and places like that.
Yeah. Well, Pittsburgh would like to have it. Pittsburgh was one of the furthest place away. We did a traveling exhibit to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to the Heinz History Center a few years back. The boat itself was built in Brownsville, Pennsylvania, just around the corner from Pittsburgh. The headlines in the Pittsburgh paper when the exhibit opened was that the Arabia has come home. And it was there for a year, the exhibit. We filled a semi-truck with all the different things that they selected for their display. And boy, I thought when I go back into the museum, it's going to look empty and bare. It did not. It was hard to tell where anything was even taken from the exhibit. There's just that much. It was very well received. A year later, it all came back to Kansas City, and they've asked a number of times, could they purchase the collection? And that's certainly a possibility, but it's home to me. We dug it here, and it seems like I will pursue any possibility rather than to sell it elsewhere, is to keep it in Kansas City.
Councilmember Saper, yeah, keep going.
What would you like from the city council?
Well, I would certainly need your support. This would need support from not only you, but the county, the state, private This would not be a cheap project to build a building as what we're describing. It would be very expensive. And it could not be done without your support. So you guys were the first step.
Councilmember Toll.
Currently, it's a private collection, right?
That's correct.
In a private museum?
It is.
So talking about getting funding sources, public funding sources, would that translate into ticket prices for citizens to go see it?
Could. But I don't see the collection, certainly not the Malta, and the Arabia needs to move from a private ownership, because it was me and my dad and my brother and a couple other friends. It needs to move to that into a 501c3. And we've established an organization such as that. It's called the National Steamboat Museum. And we would like the collection to go into that, where it's owned by the foundation. The other boats that we've described would do the very same. So it would make it easier to fundraise for a 501c3 organization.
And do you have, and I know you can't tell us where, but do you have a specific location in mind within North Kansas City that would meet your needs?
I met with the mayor and Mr. Nichols just earlier within the last week or so, and they said the first stop would be to come and see you guys. And in the meanwhile, they'll consider some other locations that might potentially fit.
Okay.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you for the presentation, and been down to your museum. It's fascinating. Very, very good use of a couple hours, you said, or a full day, depending on how long you take a look at this stuff.
Sure.
As you may know, North Kansas City itself is relatively small. It's 4.5 square miles, and city land itself is like we're kind of out of land, so it would have to be a private. You'd have to work with a private owner of land to purchase that and set it up for that kind of thing. So as far as what we could do to assist, I'm not certain what that looks like, since we don't have land to donate. We don't have, that sort of resource for you. I think it's an interesting venture, and, I'm sure Mr. Nichols can connect you to a lot of the local owners of property, and, start those discussions. And
Sure.
we'd be happy to, hear what's going on with that.
Okay.
Councilmember Saber.
We had the ongoing example of the Rabbit Hole Museum, repurposing facility that was in North Kansas City. And it's turning out to be a fantastic event and structure and program. It's going to open next year.
Okay, good.
And there are such buildings still available.
Okay.
That you might want to think about.
Well, that'd be great. We'd more than happy to take a peek if there's something.
Yeah, I certainly find the prospect interesting. It looks like,
Yeah.
it's a very good collection, and definitely something if we can keep in the area, we keep in the area. I think there's definitely probably still going to be a lot of questions from council about what exactly, you said support broadly, but that obviously comes in a lot
Sure.
of
Yeah.
different ways. I know you've worked with several other cities. What kind of support have they considered?
Well, it's hard to find a city that says, oh, we're just not interested.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants more tourism, and everybody would like an exhibit like this. And to your point, not everybody can afford it. Not everybody has the land or the dollars to help support it. The most recent was St. Charles, and we worked closely with St. Charles for quite some time. They've got land right on the river that they would donate to the project, and we spent a number of months looking at cost of buildings and so forth and so on, and the mayor called just a few weeks ago and says, Dave, I'd like to have lunch with you. I think we've got the solution. I said, great. And he says, we've decided I think it would be best to take the size of the building that we've discussed and make it a lot smaller. I said, okay. And how are we going to put all this collection and that of other boats into it? Well, he said, I don't think we're going to need to do that. I think what we'll do is we'll take the Arabia's collection and we'll fill the building. We'll put some monitors and some interactive exhibits, because that's kind of hot right now. And then whatever's left over, we'll just sell. We just don't need it. And I don't think that if we wanted to sell the collection, I could sell it here in Kansas City. I don't need to take it to St. Charles and let you sell it. And that's not the intent. The collection is a remarkable collection, and its value, truthfully, is because it's intact. It's not been sold. We could have sold it all these many years if we'd have wished to. But at that point, I said, thank you very much for your time, and here I am standing in front of you guys.
All right, what other questions? Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, I got several questions. What size building are you? How big of a building are you talking here?
What we have presently is something about 50,000. The collection itself occupies 35,000 square feet. The remainder is gift shop, classrooms, storage area, and office area. So if the Arabia collection occupies 35,000 square feet, and if the Malta is comparable, and I don't know that yet, I won't until we get to it, but if it is, it would require another 35-ish. But we've took over a building which was an old abandoned vegetable wholesale warehouse, and we just did the best with what we could do with the space that we had. If we designed something from scratch, it could be probably a lot more efficient. But for, purposes standing in front of you guys, I'm thinking probably 50 to 60 to 65,000 would be a good place to start and to think about.
Okay, and then you were mentioning parking issues at the city market, which I'm very familiar with. I go down there all the time.
Yeah.
And how much parking are you talking? Because frankly, we have a parking issue here in Northtown as well.
Yeah.
So we are going through a lot of redevelopment right now, a lot of new development, and then a lot of developing existing property. And you're probably already aware of this, I'm sure. We just did a streetcar study. They're proposing running the streetcar down Swift Avenue. You familiar with that?
Now, from Kansas City?
Yeah. Yep. Huge project.
Yeah.
They're talking $220 million project to run the streetcar over the bridge, over 9 Highway. Wow. It would turn there where the gas station is on 10th Street and then run all the way down Swift Avenue. And I'm sure you're aware, if you walk down Swift Avenue right now, there's apartment buildings popping up. We have great highway access, 9 Highway, 169, I-35. So we can get people down there, but as far as parking, that's an issue. I think if we, theoretically speaking, I'm just, thinking big picture,
Yeah.
if we actually did have a streetcar, that would help with alleviate some of the parking. You already have a streetcar stop right in front of you down there.
You do.
Currently.
But the problem is a lot of people that lived in Kansas City would park and ride to work.
Yep.
Left their car there all day. And so the net effect was negative to the people who.
It's hilarious that
To
you
the
say
tenants.
that, because I had the same conversation with the streetcar guy. I'm not going to go on this tangent, but yeah, we need to add parking to compensate for the streetcar.
You do.
Because we're going to draw people down here from Liberty, Gladstone, Parkville,
Yep.
that are going to park their car to get on the streetcar.
It's going to be a park and ride.
So it's actually a net negative
kind
on
of
parking.
Yeah.
So I'm just theoretically in my mind trying to picture where this could be placed in such a way that you have access, you have parking, you have ample space. Theoretically, if there were a streetcar run down Swift, I think that how do I phrase this? There are businesses that are currently on Swift that I think are going to end up not existing. It'll end up redeveloping the area. Much of what the same thing happened, if you. I just recently went on a streetcar tour at the National League of Cities, and if you go down the streetcar route, everywhere you look, there's buildings being knocked down, new buildings coming up. So I could see this fitting in down here, but it's a really big picture. And then I like the fact that it's family friendly. I have kids, and the Rabbit Hole. Are you familiar with the Rabbit Hole?
Yeah, they introduced me to it. I saw pictures, and I've not been there. I haven't seen it certainly, but I'm anxious to go when it's open.
It should be open a year from now.
Okay.
And it's going to be a huge draw. I think not only people in the metro coming to visit the Rabbit Hole, but I think it's going to bring people in from around the country. We have a couple brand new hotels that were just recently built, including a conference center right off the highway over here, east of I-35. So we have place for guests to come out of town. I think this could fit for us, but this is a really big part of a bigger picture. So that's it for me.
Okay.
Councilmember Smith.
So at this point, I feel like we're just very early in this process.
Sure.
There's not much we're going to be able to do for you tonight. We can't troubleshoot a location or figure out where it's going to go. I think I'd say it's an interesting project, and if you have some interactions with private business owners or owners of land, and you get some momentum behind it, happy to come back and talk about what you've got there, if there's an ask, if there's a partnership. But tonight, I think, I'm happy that we got the presentation, that you thought of us.
Yep.
And it's very cool what you're doing.
I think you're right. I think this is the first step, and we'll see where it all takes us.
We can connect you with some of our real estate partners here, and then further continue to meet with you to see how that
Sure.
where that's going, and maybe if that's going in the right direction, then further discuss some of the support items you were talking about, maybe the route to go.
Certainly.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Toll.
Oh, sorry.
And I feel like there's nothing
The new boat that you're talking about and the different items that would be on there sound really interesting, but you're not going to excavate until you have a building built. So how many years out do you think you are? Because I have no concept of how many, I've been to your museum now, so it probably told me, but I don't remember. How long would an excavation of that size take? So how many years away are you from making that museum happen?
Well, if there was, let's say, for example, a building right now being built, we knew we had that established, we knew where it was going to be, it was going to happen, we had the timeline pretty much laid out. I could dig that boat now, because where we're at, I've got plenty of room to start cleaning and preserving and preparing it. When we dug the Arabia, we started digging the 13th of November of 1988. We opened the museum the 13th of November of 1991, 3 years later. And that's digging it, cleaning it, finding a building and renovating it into a museum, and opened in 3 years, which is remarkably fast. The dig itself won't take that long. Now, if the boat's there and intact, and you're going to bring the whole boat up, that's something I've not done before. So that might take it into the second year. But if you're just doing what we did with the Arabia, you'll do it in one winter. The dig is quick. It won't take long.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Further, Councilmember Stokes, please.
Just if you do dig and it's a bust, because you really don't know, would you still pursue this path, or what would your ideas?
Well, yeah, you never know what's down in the dirt. But we did a core sample, and you've always got to do that. Now, the drill that we sample with is a fairly large one, okay? So you're going to go down into the boat, and you're going to bring up a sample. You're going to go inside of the collection, inside of its cargo hold, capture something, and bring it to the surface. And you do that to confirm, number one, it is a boat that you found. And secondly, there's something in it. Okay? If you go down and you find nothing, and nothing, and nothing, and nothing, then you don't dig it, because why would you dig a boat that's a bad boat? One time into the Malta. The Malta is at 37 feet below surface. So you drill to the 37, and you'll hit the wood. At that point, we begin to go into it. Now, the drill's fair good size, and so as the drill turns, it's real aggressive. And you know that you're going through heavy wood, because that wood's still hard. But when the wood smooths out, when the drill smooths, you're through the wood. Now, we went 3 more feet, okay? The drill itself has doors that close. So we into the boat 3 feet, felt nothing. I mean, it was like going through hot butter. Closed the doors, thinking we didn't find a thing, but that's the first step. Brought it to the surface. We only did it once. In the very first sample, we found 150 gold buttons as big as quarters, and ceramics, and fabric, and chunks of lard, and window glass, big iron hook. Remarkable things for only one time, the very first time through. Didn't have to go 2 or 3 or 4 times to find that. One time only. Now, if we only hit the only one barrel on the boat, well, you know, unlikely that's the case.
There we go. Further questions, comments? You don't have to. If you don't. No.
No, I just want to add a quick comment. I kind of mentioned the rabbit hole, but I should point out to you, because it sounds like you aren't too familiar with it, but we've done a tremendous amount of support for the rabbit hole down here.
Have you?
Yes. Yeah, we've done a lot for them. We built them a parking lot. Right now, we're looking at building a multi-use path where you can ride bicycles or walk or take a scooter from the new hotels under the highway over to the rabbit hole to get guests to and from there. So I just wanted to point that out. A little toot our horn a little bit.
Yeah, well, good for you.
We're a good city to partner with. I will say that.
Excellent.
So I would suggest, honestly, on your way home, maybe drive by the Rabbit Hole. It's just right down the street.
Is it? Okay.
And then cruise down Swift Avenue and just kind of imagine, what it could look like with the streetcar and the redevelopment going on. So
Yeah.
just to get a picture. If
Well, I'm
you
anxious to see those high-rise parking garages once you get those built to support the.
I'm all for it, man. They're expensive, but
They are.
we need them.
You do.
So thank you.
will. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you taking the time
Certainly.
presenting this evening, and
We hope to visit
Yeah.
again, and Merry Christmas to you all.
yeah, you as
Thank
well.
very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Item 16, classification and salary ranges of non-represented employees, resolution number 22-093.
Oh, yeah, you're getting this one. Mike.
Per discussion during the previous meeting on December 6th, 2 resolutions are being presented to the City Council for consideration. First resolution is adopting the classifications and salary ranges presented at the last meeting. And then the second resolution is the respective budget amendment should the first resolution be adopted. Just wanted to point out that the total budget amendment talked about last time did decrease by a little over $3,000. It was due to an adjustment made prior to the meeting, but after the packet went out. So just want to let you know.
And, okay, I just think of this as I was looking at this. So number 16 is only relating to these salary ranges, not necessarily what someone's going to get paid. We are approving the range of salaries.
Classifications and salary
Classifications and
ranges.
ranges, okay.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
That's it for, you're done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unless there's questions.
Councilmember comments.
We do-
Councilmember Smith.
I will say.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Then I'll get it.
We do have Melena Halverson Mays with McGrath here tonight if there are any questions.
All right, Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, but I mean, we're if we approve this, we're changing the salary ranges, which would slide everyone in those ranges up to at least the minimum within this range. To clarify that.
Except 2.
Except for 2. Okay, so I made a lot of statements about the first meeting about this. I will double down on my pushback on the study itself. I don't like the way it was done or presented. I think it puts us in a really awkward spot as a governing body because we are presented with, this is the way it needs to be. We need to go 10% over market. If not, we're not leaders in the field. And because of the nature of a public meeting, a public forum, the study in its entirety is published to the entirety of the employee base of the city so that they can see that. And once that's been done, if we don't approve it, we're essentially pulling back what was on offer. And it's a really awkward point to be in as a leader. I don't think there's a way we could do this in closed session. I think it would have been better for morale, for being prudent with the funding, so that it's not, so the employees don't see what they could be earning if the council just votes yes. And then, if we vote no, we're essentially ripping it back. It puts us in a really, really tough spot. With that said, our employees are very valuable. I care deeply for all of you that work here. You keep the city running. And so I think in this case, we go ahead and approve the salary ranges that are suggested in the study, with the expectation that going forward, I mean, we're looking at 30, 40, 50% pay increases. And with the expectation going forward that some of the raises that people have grown accustomed to on a regular basis may be pared back. So if we're going to be 10% over market right now, and when we're doing cost of living adjustments and merit-based pay raises of, I think we talked, Mike, 4.5% has been the range of a merit-based. We might be pulling that back a little bit, so we're not going to be accelerating beyond market. Now, we'll continue to do compensation studies. We're going to keep looking at fair pay, but I would say we go ahead and approve these ranges with the expectation set that it's not going to be like this every time we go around.
So let me ask a follow-up to that, to staff here, and to my question as well. So the item on the table right now is the classification salary ranges, and he mentioned cost of living adjustments, which was the Appendix B. Are we not adopting the compensation policy guidelines with this as well?
Right now, it's classifications and salary ranges. the recommendations.
So is cost of living adjustments actually something we do now?
No,
Is that-
it's all merit right now, but that's something that we had discussed, is incorporating the two, paring the merit down.
Should we adopt
It
Appendix B as
can,
well?
it can, yeah.
I mean, because
Amended.
to basically do your whole statement and including certain of those aspects, and I know we briefly mentioned this, and I just now noticed that's not on this one as well, was adopting the Appendix B, which describes these things more in details: new hires, cost of living, performance adjustment, market adjustments. Because if we're not doing cost of living now and we're having a conversation based around that maybe being a factor, then I don't know. Sorry, that I would have thought about that one about 4 hours ago. I would have let you know. But are you stewing, or are you waiting for me to? You want me to move on? We'll circle back around.
Well, no,
How about
I'm
this?
thinking about,
What you think we can call on someone else there? Or you want
would
to
it be amending the resolution as presented to
You'd have to
include
adopt this,
section
bring this whole extra page.
from the study?
Unless that's not
or-
necessarily.
No,
You mentioned it, but maybe
Yeah.
that's not necessarily any sort of.
No, I don't think we need to approve that as it is now. Like, we approve the ranges and then we work on what those
on the
what they
definitions
look
and
like
everything,
going
right?
forward.
I'd agree, because, the goal, I think, would be to get this done tonight. Councilmember Toll.
Yeah, cost of living makes sense. I mean, if you don't meet the merit-based standards to reach cost of living, then you probably aren't
Yeah.
working here anymore. So that seems like a minimum. I wanted to propose a hybrid to what was there, which would be possibly difficult to bring into fruition. But I want to explain myself thoroughly and make sure that, that it comes across that I value all of our employees. The conversation that came up previously, some of these jumps in salary are in 1 year more than some of what of our employees make all year. So in looking at the salary schedule, one of the natural breaks, but the number would be fluid, the concept is what I'm trying to get out there, is about 70,000. If you make 70,000 or below, you immediately hit that required, the recommended amount this next year, as is. We have been able to hire excellent people at our top positions, and I don't devalue those top positions. But if we go from what we were able to hire within the last 5 years and much less, and go with the recommendation, we're talking about a 30,000, 40,000, 20,000 increase overnight for someone that we hired possibly a year ago. To me, I think we should get there. I think we do need to pay more because I want to retain those people. We have great employees. But overnight seems a little extreme. Maybe we could phase that in 3 years. Again, what I'm advocating for is taking a certain cap and saying you're going to meet that with all the other pieces in place too. It doesn't mean you make the minimum. It means that minimum is the minimum. Everybody who's working now needs to get credit for the time that they've been here. I myself have lived through more than one compression of a salary schedule. And so I'm not saying everybody would start at the minimum. You still get credit for the years served. It just means that minimum becomes the minimum, as discussed in the presentation last time. I don't know if it's feasible. I don't know if that's something that we could make happen, because it would be a differentiation where that pay scale is. It's just looking at some of those increases being the same amount or more of what some of our employees make in a year was a little unsettling to me. And I do want to get there. I just think we can build to that amount. Are there any thoughts?
Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, I'm in favor of just passing it as presented because I'm not an expert on this, and we hired this person to go out and do the study for us, and she concluded that our employees are not paid what they should be. And a really important point that she made was that if you lose an employee, it costs more, 1.5 times more to have to replace somebody that you lost, versus just trying to pay them what they should be paid. So I feel like this is one of those cases where trying to save money, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. because we could lose good people that we don't want to lose. And furthermore, we have what did she call it? We have like an aging, I'm trying to think of how to say this, aging staff, right? So we don't want to start losing the young people that we have in our staff are very valuable. These new people that you're fretting about getting large pay increases are the exact people that we need to be targeting to keep here. They're very important for the future of our organization moving forward, because they're going to be replacing people as they move on. So in my mind, as somebody on the council who oftentimes vote no on things, not necessarily because I'm against that thing, but because I feel like it's a waste of money. This, in my mind, is one of the most important things that we could be spending money on, is our staff. And we're a very lean organization. We are not some giant, mega city. Some of these people that we're competing against, some of these cities have larger budgets than us. They have more positions available to where, if they lose somebody in their department, it might not affect the department as much as it would here in Northtown. We're a smaller community, and I think that's very important. And I think that focusing on percentage increases in salary is misguided, because the way I look at it, that just shows that those people that we value are underpaid. And, I'm married to a school teacher, so believe me, I'm all about pay increases for public employees. So I'm all about it. So sign me up. I would move to approve it as is. I don't know if I have a second, but I'm in favor of just passing it as presented.
Okay, we can continue conversation, but there was a motion here. Is there a second to the motion to pass as presented? Oh, no, yeah, there's a motion. If there's a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's a second, and then we'll keep talking, though. There we go. Further council member discussion. We're good on the first and second. You got that? Okay, because you'll have to remind me later. You already did that. Thank you. Councilmember Stokes.
Brand new, but I agree with the things you're saying. Our staff are amazing. I've only really worked with Valerie and, Victoria, and I think she's worth her weight in gold. However, I did notice as I was reviewing it that we were being compared to population bases that were significantly higher and with significantly larger budgets. And obviously the workload is a little bit different when you're in a larger city compared to a smaller city. I would assume and I would expect that. However, it is a really tricky situation, but I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Yeah, I will say on workload, definitely we've been a very busy city, so I can tell you most of our staff is at capacity, if not 20 times beyond, 20% beyond that. Yeah, Mallory will agree on that. Yeah. So we're definitely keeping people busy. Hey, I got to calm down the crowd now. Okay. No, I know. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, the structure is generally different, and you may have more responsibilities and different budgets, and everything's a little bit different. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to. There. Yeah. Well, I pointed at you, so now you raised your hand. There you go.
Just from community feedback to me that was in a text from someone that attended the last meeting, they just felt like the study wasn't complete. There was no comparison for larger cities, against larger cities. Retirement benefits, paid vacation, paid sick leave, training, things like that weren't considered. That's just something I wanted to make sure to present.
Councilmember Toll, there we go.
That goes along exactly with what I was going to say, which is I feel it's a faulty study. And I know that we were working with the scope that we gave, but the scope was wrong. They did not take into consideration any benefits, which we had just upgraded, and I would have liked that to be part of it. We also hired somebody else to give us a recommendation on what to pay for our most recent hire, who was also a professional, and that's what they do for a living, and we met that requirement, and we're $40,000 under a year later. So we hired somebody that gave that recommendation as well, and that was their area of expertise. So I do think it's a faulty study. I do think that we're most likely going to pass it as is, and I don't want it to come across that I don't value our employees. I do, 100%, and I think we should get there for all the salary schedules. But for those upper level ones, and yes, we probably got a heck of a bargain, And I think we should get there with their salaries. I just think we could phase that in, and everybody that was 70,000 or below to bump up. But I'll quit talking. I do value our employees. I do think that everybody should get there. I just, it was a big overnight jump, and we did hire another professional that gave us a different recommendation.
One part I definitely agree on for sure is the, and I kind of mentioned this last meeting, not including all the benefits, but again, I will also take the blame that is on us as well on this side for if that is the scope we wanted, then that is definitely the scope we should have been approving as well. So I will also admit that's an oversight because I did get it and say, damn, it would be sure it would be nice if I had this included too. And then I look at the scope, but it's not. Oops. Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, discussions like this, and I very much appreciate, Lisa, that you took the time to think, cut lines and where we can make different moves here and there. I think stuff like this would be very well handled in a setting that's not us at the dais right now having to kind of figure this out on the fly, because we're not even supposed to talk about this off the record. So we can't like workshop some ideas and then bring them to council and then like have some things to talk about. We just kind of get this blunt force study, and then we say yay or nay. Any other like sliding scales and changing up ranges, while very logical, is going to be so hard to do like right now. That's kind of where I'm at with approving it as is, and then paring back the range of the merit base or the cost of living adjustments. I think we end up at a market pay in a few years. Rather than, I think we're going to be overpaying slightly in the short term, and it will even out as time moves on. That's the way I'm looking at it now, and that's why I'm seconding the motion.
Perfect.
Is that how the motion is laid out now? Is that it's pairing?
The motion was just to pass it as is,
Pass
right?
as
That is
with
passing
the
resolution
understanding that we'll
22993.
discuss the merit-based ranges and what the next years look like as far as what's
Well, that
even
wasn't-
possible. Now, it's not
Now
part
we're
of the
changing
motion.
the motion.
But
That's just that's the understanding of the next set of discussions.
But was that his motion? You know what I mean?
Hold
As
on,
it's
hold
written
on,
now.
hold on. We got to go back to calling on people. Hold on. Councilmember Clark, okay. Everyone's kind of starting to talk over. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just saying, is that the understood motion? It's as it's written today, but then it's like with the hope.
No,
the motion on the table was expressly to pass this as is.
Yes.
To pass resolution 22093 as presented.
Yes. I got another comment.
And that was a second. Okay.
Okay.
1 second, let me make sure. Okay. Councilmember Graves.
I just wanted to make a quick point. I don't know if this is affecting the way anybody's thinking about voting on this, but the whole small city versus big city thing, the way I look at this is we are a smaller city compared to Liberty, Gladstone, Kansas City, some of the people in this study, but we're in direct competition with them over the same people. And so you really have to think of it this way. We got Director Sands right here. Shoe Wood came to us from Kansas City. We took them from Kansas City. I don't want to lose our best people to Liberty or Gladstone or whatever. So even though we're a smaller city, we have to pay people well, or we can lose our best people. And then secondarily, I just wanted to point out that because we're in a smaller city, I don't think that our people have less to do. In fact, I think they might actually have more to do because our departments are smaller. And so Director Sands, Public Works, when he was in Kansas City, Missouri, he might have had a whole bunch of people working on, more itemized little projects, whereas now he has more on his plate. One story that comes to mind is Mr. Nichols, our administrator, when he came here from a small town, he was licking envelopes on water bills to send out water bills, stuff like that. We hear stories from people coming from smaller towns where they're doing tasks that once you move up a level, you can kind of shuffle those jobs off onto other staff. So
We're going to move that to legal counsel now, though.
So I don't think our people are doing less work than people in Liberty or Gladstone. With that, in fact, they might be doing more. And we're in direct competition with those cities. So I think it's important. I'm in favor.
All right, Councilmember Toll.
Yeah, I do. I agree that you have to wear many hats. So like you were kind of saying before, there might be one person in charge and 4 or 5 people that do it. But if you're in a small operation, you do everything. So I do understand that. And I do value the people that we have, and I do realize we're in direct competition. So I'll support this. I think it would be something worth looking at in the future if we could workshop it a little more, because I also think this is going to be dead in the water sooner than we come back and look at it. I don't think we have a very good system for keeping this updated and more fluid and doing the increases, the small increases, as we should from year to year.
I certainly agree. On timeline, at some point in the future, yeah, a little bit more runway. Obviously, there's things that held it up and kind of got us down to the last minute because we want to make sure we're taking care of the people. The expectation is generally on January 1st, if I'm not, is that correct? Usually that's when these raises come in. So we've kind of pushed it all the way to the end. We want to make sure we take care of people, though. So a little longer runway next time would kind of be beneficial. But I know multiple things always go into timing. So
Right.
I don't even know. I'm just rambling now. Councilmember Clark.
Typically, it's brought in August, something along these lines, or the recommendations for the next year. So it's incorporated in the budget. We had some delays this year, so we apologize for that, but we're still trying to get it in for January. And to Councilmember Smith and Toll's comments, we have discussed one. A blending of COLA and merit, as it talked about in the report, but also looking at this more often, staying on top of it. So thank you for those comments. Thank you.
What is our current policy on when we reevaluate this? Do we have a policy, or is it just kind of an ad hoc, whenever we feel it's right?
Recommendation is yearly. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're gonna look at this on an annual basis.
We're gonna do this again next year.
Not a full study, but we're going to look within our, to see where we stand.
No, that'd be good, certainly, to help alleviate.
No, not a full
larger swings. Okay, here we go. I feel like we're starting to lose it up here. Okay, farther, council member discussion. Seeing none. I was going to say call the roll, but I'm not calling the roll. I am voice voting this, correct? There was a motion and a second. All right, then all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries. Okay, that leaves us number 17, budget amendment for classification and salary ranges for non-represented employees, resolution number 22094.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember discussion.
Yes, hold on.
There we go. Councilmember Smith.
So, yeah, I do want to ask the question to Tom. For the next time, can this be handled in closed session as a personnel matter, or is that not allowed?
Only if you're talking about, individual
not like a few
employees,
hundred
not as a
individual.
broad discussion of just.
Because the issue I see is there are a few hundred individual salaries in question. Now, we could have a bunch of closed sessions on each individual, and that gets pretty grueling.
No.
But we can't do this as a workshop in closed session before it gets pushed out to the employees and they internalize the range?
I want to be 100% correct. Let me check a little bit on that, your specific question, and give you an answer, since I know you don't have to have that answer tonight. I'd rather be 100% right than just guess here.
I appreciate
and shoot
that.
from the hip.
It just puts, as I mentioned, it puts us in a very awkward spot, because once the range has been internalized, we're
Correct.
essentially giving pay cuts by saying
I
that.
understand.
Okay.
I'm glad to know you don't shoot by the hip. Farther, council member discussion.
Can I have who made the motion?
Somebody up here.
I moved. Adams second.
Smith.
Roberts.
Okay, thank
We're all-
you.
Okay, we're good with that. Oh,
This one we just, number 17, I made the motion, Robert seconded.
all right, there's no dispute on that. There we go. So all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 18, KCATA Contract Ordinance Bill Number 7732, Ordinance Number 9529. We're just going straight to, did I miss one? You want to go straight to Bryce? Straight to Bryce. Welcome back. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be back. I don't have a presentation this evening, but we are presenting a 3-month contract that gives us time to relook at the terms of the contract over the next 3 months and to present a longer-term contract after that point. The contract is for $110,117, and so that will cover all the current services in Kansas City through the end of March.
And this keeps our, agreement basically going as is, no cut to bus service, and we all acknowledge that in the interim, we're going to continue to work on a new agreement that might have some additional modifications.
Yes, I've had some discussions with my staff, and we're prepared to review the contract terms and work with the staff here in North Kansas City to update that.
Perfect. There we go. Councilmember Smith.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Was your board meeting last night?
Our board meeting is tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. That
it'll
was
be
the issue.
Approved
Okay.
by our board. It will be reviewed by our board, hopefully approved tomorrow.
None of the board was interested in being here tonight.
Typically, this is handled at a staff level at the
Okay.
KCATA.
Because one of my big pressing pieces at the last meeting was I'd like to have somebody here that could have that level of conversation. Not that you are doing a bad job, it's that you don't have the decision authority that a board member would.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to have that kind of open discussion. Like I stated last time, unequivocally, I'm not going to vote to approve this because even this week, I've gotten text messages that 238 missed its shot. It just didn't show up again. And we're paying for service that's not happening, and I cannot support that. I don't know exactly the ramifications of a no vote now. We would go out of contract, I imagine, and then you mentioned the buses would continue to run on good faith. I mean, the fixed route still has to get through here. But if they're just missing residents and they're missing work because of that, and we're still paying the bill, I just don't see it, man. I hate that. And we kicked the can. I'll give you a second. We've kicked the can. I think this is the third consecutive time, because each time, and it's not been you, it's been somebody different at the podium, that says, in 6 months, we're going to get this right. Like, we're going to figure out the flex, we're going to figure out some fixed routes. Just give us a short-term 6 month, we'll get it right, and then we'll go for a year. And then we went six, and now we're going 3 because, we got to squeeze it in. There's really no reason for you guys to get it right if we just keep kicking the can. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I'm done kicking the can.
If I can speak to that a little bit.
Sure.
So I want to talk about the missed trips and that currently. So just for some context, so in November, the 238 had a 98.1% trip completion rate. We obviously want that to be 100%. But if we're talking about when a route gets missed, it's at 98.1 is what our current on-time performance, total completed trips tracker is at. Since July, we have hired 100 new drivers, and we have a class of 38 starting their training in January. So we are aware of that issue. We have been aware of that issue. We have new leadership at the KCATA, which has a massive influence on transparency and accountability. And so that is something that we are working to improve on, and that is why we are going to go back, and this contract you see in March will be different. The language in it will be different than the contract you see in front of you today.
What will be different?
So one of the things you talked about was you wanted some kind of guarantee of service or possible reimbursement. And so the City of Kansas City has a current option in their contract that is similar. We might want to ask to not copy that directly, but there is a system out there that we are prepared to work toward to fit the service in North Kansas City.
Just on the 98.1% completion rate, what is generally the system completion rate?
System, let me see.
You're probably going to tell me it's on the website. I probably could have just looked.
I actually have that up in that.
There we go. You bookmarked it. He's ready to go. Roughly that area?
It is 95.7% is the total system trip completion rate in November.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Was that a comment? Okay, Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, I'll throw some positivity toward you. I appreciate the fact that you're hiring new drivers. It sounds like you listened to our concerns the last meeting, and I appreciate that you're addressing that. And then you answer, I was actually going to ask you about, I heard that Kansas City is doing a new contract in that regard. So as far as Smith's comments about kicking the can, I do think it's going to be resolved because Kansas City, Missouri is doing the exact same thing that we're proposing. So it sounds like it's getting better and that the new contract will have a system intact that we're not paying for trips that aren't being provided. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Further council member comments? Seeing none, is there a motion for first reading?
I'll move first reading, please.
Second?
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, we got to take the roll call still. No, I'm just kidding. No, you go. Sit down.
An ordinance adopting and approving a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority for public transportation services within the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
You're not doing it. Oh, she's eating. Someone else got to do it. Who's going to call for this? Oh, my goodness. We don't have a backup plan to Amy.
You want me to try it? Let me see if I can do it.
Yeah.
Don't make fun of me if I mess up. I move that bill number 7732 be placed on second and final reading and be passed as ordinance number 9529.
Beautiful. Is there a second to that?
Good enough.
Second.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Toll,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
No.
Councilmember Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts. Yes. Councilmember Clark,
No.
Councilmember, whoa, I'm off stock here.
Oh.
Councilmember Stokes.
Oh, mine's all messed up.
It's your turn, Katie. Councilmember Graves
Yes.
and Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Okay. That's,
5-3. An ordinance adopting and approving a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority for public transportation services within the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Thank you, Bryce. Now you're good. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Council. Have a good evening.
All right. This is back to you. You can read the rest.
Number 19, contract with the Road District for Armor Road funding. Bill number 7733, ordinance number 9530.
Okay, who can rifle off on this one? What do we got? Quickly. There we go. Anthony, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this, as previously talked about, August 3rd, City Council meeting, this is for cooperative agreement with the Special Road District of North Kansas City to fund a portion of the mill and overlay of the project right outside the door here. So this is, again, for approving the contract with them, or the agreement with them to accept those funds.
We have a check, and now this
Right,
helps us.
right.
There we go. I love them.
Any questions
Councilmember
about it?
Smith.
Anthony, thank you so much for your work on this. I know it's been a long haul to get here, and thank you, Councilmember Saper and Road District Commissioner Saper, for getting us here. First reading.
Other councilmember comments? Seeing none. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. First reading carried.
An ordinance adopting and approving a collaborative agreement by and between North Kansas City Road District Number 9 and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri for certain mill and overlay work on Armor Road.
I move that bill number 7733 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9530.
Second.
Now we're back to normal. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Toll,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes,
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting and approving a collaborative agreement by and between North Kansas City Road District Number 9 and the City of North Kansas City, Missouri for certain mill and overlay work on Armor Road.
Now I see you did. I keep looking at my order. It's all messed up.
Number 20, approving accounts due and payable by the city through December 16th, 2022. Bill number 7734, ordinance number 9531.
First reading.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through December 16th, 2022.
I move that bill number 7734 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9531.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Toll,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes, Councilmember Graves,
Yes.
and Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through December 16th, 2022.
Thank you. With that, we are on to staff comments, which tonight we'll kick off with Mike and then head on over to Chief Freeman.
Right. In your packets, the city items, the upcoming items. I'll also add that, filing closes December 27th. I want to say happy holidays to the council on behalf of staff. And also just a reminder that city offices will be closed December 26th and January 2nd, in observance of Christmas and New Year's, with the exception of essential personnel, of course. But with
Good
that,
to
Chief Freeman has an update on the van.
Chief Freeman, please.
A van. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Included in your packet is a memo from me, probably very confusing, trying to give you an update on our vehicle procurement process and the struggles that not only we're having, but the industry is having still. We came to you for funding in this fiscal year for 3 SUVs and a truck for our fleet request. As you might recall, we weren't able to get in the window for the truck during this budget year. It closed before we were able to approve the budget. And then we have this ongoing problem with trying to acquire a van for our animal control. They've been out without a van for probably 8 months now due to mechanical issues that just weren't worth repairing. So we had a van coming. It was on a slow boat, if that term means anything. And it finally got here, finally found it in Chicago with $13,000 in damage on it. And so we chose to not accept that van. This mid-sized van market is going away in the United States. This is the last year Dodge is making their van. Next year is the last year Ford is making their van. So finding one is difficult. So basically, to nuts and bolts is what I'm trying to get to is, we told you we were going to buy 3 SUVs and a truck. We'd like to shift a little bit and use that money that we did not spend last fiscal year, because this money was encumbered last fiscal year, to get the 3 SUVs, which have been ordered, and this animal control van that is available for us coming in to Gary Crossley Ford. It's a little bit more money than we spent last year because they're not on the government contract, but it is the only one that we can find. So it's just an update. We still would like to acquire the truck later in this budget year. We still don't know when that window is going to open, and we still don't know how much it's going to cost. So it would be kind of wasteful for us to request more funding for that at this time. So we'll probably be looking to do a budget amendment later on when that happens. So, any questions? Thank you.
Easy one now. Anthony, you want to explain that noise earlier now? I said it's coming back. File that report tomorrow. Further staff comments? Okay, here we go. Councilmember Toll.
Okay. I was really proud of council for the work that we did on Harrah's today. That is really hard. I know it sounds like a silly thing to say because we're giving away money, but ultimately we're choosing who does and does not get what they've asked for, and it's a really hard job, and I think it'll make a big impact in the community. So just thank everybody for working together on that. To our employees that may have listened to me and felt like I did not support them, it's the furthest thing from the truth. I fully support all of our employees, and I value our employees, and I wanted to get to the right salary. I really wanted to get there. I was just looking at creative ways of getting there, and I was happy to vote for it along with all the other council members.
Thank you. And let's go down the road here. Which way are we going? Any way you guys want. Now, Councilmember Smith.
It's been a fun couple weeks. We've done some ribbon cuttings. We had the downtown streetscape, which was very exciting. Great work for Public Works in particular. Anthony and Chris Cooper did a lot of great things with that. We cut the ribbon at District Biscuits. If you have not been there, go hungry. It is incredible. It's a lot of food. It's going to get cold, so a little public service announcement. If you have a hose still attached to the outside of your house, pull that off. It will freeze your spigot, and that's never a good time. Open your kitchen cabinet, let the air flow around those pipes so they don't freeze up. And then the city put out a really good PSA on space heaters. The one big takeaway on that is do not plug them into extension cords. Please keep them 3 feet away from drapes and all those other things, and please don't set things on fire. Did I get that right, Chief? Okay. And then happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Councilmember Fitzgerald.
I don't have much to add. I'll just say happy holidays to everybody and try to stay warm out there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councilmember
Took
Roberts.
the words out of my mouth. Yeah, happy holidays, everyone. Be safe. Don't drive if you don't have to, if it's bad out there. And I don't know, wear a windbreaker because it looks like it's gonna be terrible.
A windbreaker?
There we go.
Boats are.
Wear a wall tapestry if you have one. No, all those budget increases or salary raises. We're getting legit coats now. City staff's getting real coats, maybe. No, I'm delighted. Victoria, I think you've been a part of a city employee for like 22 years? 22 years. Yeah, so I know how this salary increase can affect everybody. I think we're just legit trying to do our job up here the best we know how to go. I don't know. We're listening to our city, our community and their input, and we want to relay the input. But I know we're not here. Yeah, we're not sitting here going like, I don't know. Do they really deserve at all? I think we're just trying to balance it out to go, we're in are we facing a recession that's coming up? Are we supposed to think through all these things? But I'm so glad it's all over and done with, and we don't have to think about that anymore. You guys get to be happy tonight. But I think everyone up here values the employees. And Adam is giving me a note to say, shut up and say no. And what? More money, more problems. That's all I'm saying. Money does not buy happiness, is what he's saying. I'm sorry. I love you all. Happy holidays. Have a great night.
I just have to give you the hook here. Councilmember Stokes, welcome. Your turn.
Excited to be here. I'm excited to learn and to learn a lot of things I didn't even know I needed to learn tonight. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you all. And
Councilmember Clark is a tough act to follow some nights. Well, welcome. Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, so I commented on this time last year, and I'll comment again at how much I love North Kansas City during Christmas time. It looks beautiful. Shout out to the North Kansas City Business Council and all of the local businesses and high school kids that decorate the Christmas trees down the street. It's a very unique thing that we do here in the city to kind of have people from the community all contribute, beautifying the city for the holidays, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Speaking of the Business Council, I had an interesting conversation with Mr. Groves the other day, the president of the Business Council. I've always admired how Ward 3 has a Yard of the Month club because it is a way to use positive reinforcement to acknowledge people who have put effort into beautifying their property. And I came up with an idea. I think it would be cheesy if, myself or an individual sponsored a Yard of the Month club for a ward. And so I kind of had the idea of each ward being sponsored, having a sign sponsored by a local business that's in your ward. So he's going to talk to businesses, and if you're a business person here in Northtown to be interested in sponsoring a sign, come talk to myself or Rich, and I think it would be cool. Wards 1, 2, and 4 don't have a Yard of the Month sign. So I think it'd be cool if we all had a sign that every month we can acknowledge a property owner has a beautiful property, and it also kind of advertises that local business that's in your ward. And I'll give a plug to F325 Barbecue, who I ate. They're in my ward, Ward 1, and it's unbelievably good barbecue. They're located on Buchanan Street over by Chicken and Pickle. They're kind of behind Paul and Jack's, formerly Repeal 18, LC's, Shawnee Pizza, Pachi's, Johnny's Backyard. So they're phenomenal. Go check them out and enjoy some barbecue.
Thank you. Councilmember Sapert.
As we were going through the Harrah's charitable list earlier during our work session, it was so painfully clear that all of what we're doing is Band-Aids for ongoing problems that keep repeating year after year. And there's nothing necessarily that we as a city council can do, but it's incredible that as a city, state, country, as wealthy as we are, we can't do anything to make a dent in these problems, but continue to put Band-Aids on them. And to change the mood. This is the third night of Hanukkah, so those celebrating, Happy Hanukkah. We've got Christmas coming up, Kwanzaa, and of course, New Year's Enjoy them, stay healthy, and be safe. Thank you.
All right, there we go. I'll actually say something tonight, and this is where I break the trophy. The city won an award for the Downtown Streetscape Project, the Keystone Award from the Northland, or it says Northland, Clay County EDC. So I just want to say I appreciate all of staff's work on that project. We've been passing it around the last several days so they could all have it on their desk at least for a couple days before it makes its permanent home in the cabinet back here. And next up will probably be either Mallory or Megan, because they contributed a lot to helping get the word out about the project as well. So thank you all of staff for your work on everything all of the time. And, it's always good to be up here with a council that's, always open to having, thoughtful conversations, very analytical, and I appreciate the conversations that we have. So thank you. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn, unless we have an executive.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Adjourn.